The Anabaptists are a group of reformers, and their name itself is very interesting because their issue was not baptism. Their issue was the separation of church and state. The reason they get their name is because they literally mean the rebaptizers, and they did not acknowledge the infant baptism that Zurich was mandating at the time. And so they baptized again in what they called believer's baptism by immersion. And so in Zurich, it was mandated that within 8 days, after a child was born, he'd be baptized. And so, but yet they also mandated that the church stop holding Bible classes. And they did not appreciate that. And so in a large meeting, a guy named George Blarick, a former priest, approached a man named Conrad Grebel and said that he would like to, quote unquote, be baptized in apostolic fashion upon confession of personal faith in Jesus Christ. So Grebel baptized him a second time, and this is what births Anabaptist life. Currently and today, I'll give you a map of the spread of Anabaptism. But currently today, the distant relatives of Anabaptists include Baptists, Quakers, Congregationalists, Mennonites, and Hutterites. So, with that in mind, their fundamental issue was church and state. Now, this was partly because of baptism, because Zurich had mandated that anyone born within 8 days of that needed to be baptized, or they could face banishment from Zurich. And so, this was a problem for them, and this is kind of led by a man named Zwingli, who was a student of Erasmus, and he had come to really want to read the text like Luther, every man for himself, in the original language. And so in doing that, Zwingli rejected whatever the Bible didn't advocate for. And so that included traditional things in Roman Catholic life, such as candles, statues, music, and pictures in worship services. And this helped birth what's later in England called the Puritan movement. And so, the issue of the child being baptized and separation of church and state came out when Conrad Grebel, if you remember him, his wife got pregnant. And they were to have a child, and the question was whether the child would be baptized or not. So a city council of Zurich met on January 17th of 1525 and heard both sides of the story and mandated that the child had to be baptized. Well, this didn't happen the way that they wanted, and so in rebellion of that, everyone went and had a baptism at the Mayans household, in an act of defiance. And this sparked a persecution. They began drowning Anabaptists, burning them at the stake, killing them in masses. In total, 4,000 to 5,000 Anabaptists are killed. And the Anabaptists respond in pacifism, and they don't fight back until the Munster Rebellion. In the Munster Rebellion, they fight back hard and end up losing. And a man by the name of Minnow Simmons comes and helps to restore them back to strength. And he helps birth the Mennonites, hence the name Minnow. And this led to a Schleitheim confession, which was the Anabaptist confession, and it called for discipleship, principle of love, congregationalism, and the separation of church and state. This became known as the Anabaptist Confession, and these are the things they wanted: discipleship, growth in the life of the believer, principle of love, congregationalism, that the people vote, and separation of church and state. And that's the Anabaptist.